Aaron, welcome. It's nice to have you. Thank you for joining me
Great
here.
being here.
You are in the running for a city council district.
Yes.
Would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself?
I'd love to. Thank you so much. My name is Aaron Smith, and I'm running for Bloomington City Council in District 1. I live in East Bloomington with my wife, Jennifer. We've been married for 31 years. We've got 3 cats, 3 chickens, and 3 sons. All 3 of our sons live in Bloomington, and we just found out we have our first grandchild on the way.
Oh, that's great.
So I didn't know how excited about that I would be, but I'm extremely excited about it.
Good.
For my day job, I'm the CEO and Executive Director of the Energy and Environmental Building Alliance, which helps green builders from across North America build better homes for people. And then I also have a company, Greensmith Builders, where we build what we call attainable, sustainable housing for more workforce housing type of requirements.
Sure.
So, yeah, that's a little
great.
bit about me.
All right. Well, you went into a bit of your background.
Yeah.
Tell me a bit about how all of this has led you to pursue public service.
Yeah, so I guess my public service started off as a young person. I joined the military. And maybe, I think 5 years ago, I applied to be on the Sustainability Commission with Bloomington.
Sure.
I love sustainability. I've been very involved in over the years, both in corporate and volunteer work. I was on the board of Wolfridge Environmental Learning Center, which
Awesome.
you've probably
Yeah,
been
I'm
to
familiar.
at some point.
Yep.
It's a great place. So didn't get on the Sustainability Commission the first round, got on the second round, and that really started me going. And then and learning more about Bloomington and more about the great programs that we're doing. But I think what really did it, and I hate to bring national politics into our local election because it's nonpartisan, but it was this fear that, we have some challenges at the federal level, I'll just say.
Yeah.
And what we ended up doing in my neighborhood in East Bloomington was kind of one neighbor would come over at night, we'd start talking and processing, and then 2 came over, and then we started an indivisible group in our neighborhood, and we started meeting monthly, started going to some different rallies around Minnesota.
Sure.
And I think, I joke, but my wife's like, well, maybe we need to think about moving to Canada. And I was like, no, we're going to stay and fight. And she said, well, then you need to run.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, let's do this thing. And I think it was really knowing how important it is to protect our values at the local level, and that's really where the rubber meets the road. So I had, Bernie Sanders had put out a call, and he said, we want Democrats to run at every level.
Yep.
And there was something like 65,000 offices that we don't have anybody run. So I raised my hand at that meeting and got to the NDTC and did some training, and then kind of started on the campaign. And then I don't want to say was assigned, but we didn't have a Democrat running in District 1, and it's my home, and I love it. So I volunteered to run in District 1.
Okay, yeah, that's perfect. So tell me a little bit, besides the fact that there isn't a Democrat running in that district, what else do you think is missing in that district that you can help bring? Yeah,
so if you've run into me out at the doors, I mean, I'm pretty gregarious. The restrictions during COVID really hurt me because I'm a little bit of an extrovert.
Sure.
I've loved being out talking to everybody, hearing what the issues are, hearing what their challenges are, or hearing what they love about Bloomington. And I think that has been very inspirational to wanting to run a campaign here locally.
Sure. Absolutely. So tell me a bit about how you conceptualize that. What is being a city council member? What activity, what responsibility do you feel goes along with that?
Yeah. Well, the number one thing with the listening piece of it, or being out talking to people, is when I joined the Sustainability Commission, I guess I thought, okay, now I've got, the magic touch, and I'm going to get a better response from people, or that I'll just say, that didn't happen to be the case. So even with the Sustainability Commission position, I would email people at the city and not necessarily get a response.
Sure.
And I just thought, and this is kind of outside looking in, right? As somebody who, I want to help Bloomington, I want to help with sustainability, I thought, wow, well, for sure they'd listen to me. But I think as I've been out in the doors, a lot of people have told me that. Like, we're not getting a call back, or we're not getting an email back.
Okay.
And that kind of concerned me, but I had that feeling a little bit. So
Sure.
I always thought, if your neighbor, you live in Bloomington too, but if your neighbor calls you looking for help, I don't care what part of the partisan scale they're on, you go help them, right?
Sure.
And I think if we have people reaching out to us, we need to make sure and reciprocate, because that's democracy at its basic level.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So along those lines, you mentioned a lot of community engagement. What do you think is some of the most important things that we can do to help connect with the people that would or wouldn't vote for you?
Yeah. Well, I think that I love the Bloomington briefing, and this is maybe connecting more generally for Bloomington, but then I can talk about myself specifically. But I felt like I was pretty engaged. I vote in every election,
Sure.
very engaged, and I felt like, wow, the last 8 months being on the Sustainability Council, I've learned 40 new things that I didn't know about.
That's great.
But maybe that's not great because we weren't communicating it to the people who were most active
Sure.
and plugged in. Well, what does that mean for our neighbors that aren't? Because we got to be honest, you and I are sitting here. This is very important to us. It's not important to all of our neighbors.
Right.
We at least need to be responsive to them. But I think we can do a better job with communicating. And I think you're seeing that today across different social media platforms, across newsletters. It can't just be printed media anymore. We've got to outreach in every way. But I still will say, I'm a little bit old school in this. The best way is to get out in the community with your neighbors.
Sure, absolutely. Just meet them face to face.
Meet them face to face.
All right. So tell me a bit about your approach to how you gather consensus, especially with, there's very polarized viewpoints these days. How do you think you can kind of bridge the aisle and be somebody that, somebody on the other side of the aisle might want to work with?
Yeah. Well, I've seen this so far in my campaign. And I always joke that, I have a dad that is on the other side of the fence than I am.
Sure.
So like every family event, I have to bridge the gap. You have to listen. But I do think that it's, we have to be active listeners. We have to have empathy because everybody's coming at it from a different point. They have different information. They have different shared experiences. And we have to do it in a respectful environment.
Okay.
And I remember being at one of Nathan Coulter's events over in East Bloomington, talking to our community. And he was so good about saying, we're not going to yell at each other tonight. I'm not going to yell at you. You're not going to yell at me. We're going to have a respectful, we're going to hear everybody's viewpoint. And I think Nathan's been somebody who I looked up to and how they handle that.
Sure.
So I think that it goes back to my adage. I'm going to say this again and again. If my neighbor calls me and needs help, you go help them. You go listen to them. You go find out what their needs are. We're representing everybody. And what we are not, this is not a very partisan thing in Bloomington.
Right.
For the majority of what we do, with great parks and great schools and great public services and all of those things. So we need to listen to everybody and communicate more.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So into kind of the meat of the topic. Tell me what you think some of the top 2 or 3 issues facing Bloomington are today.
Yeah. So I think before I got out and talked to 6,000 people, I had it in my mind that it was something different.
Okay.
But I think what I would say today is that the cost of living and affordability is a number one thing for people in Bloomington.
Definitely.
The cost of transportation, the cost of insurance, the water bills going up. I mean, this may sound crazy, but I've talked to people who, we can't even afford, because we have that extra sales tax levy, we're driving down to Burnsville to shop at those stores instead of shopping at Bloomington.
Sure.
That's on what a knife edge people are on. So we've got to think about, we've got to engage more with our working class, our lower income folks, and again, helping them and representing them. But I think the number one issue out there is affordability for all kinds of folks across the spectrum.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a tough time right now.
Yeah, things are getting a little tighter.
Yeah.
So on that note, affordable housing is also a really big issue.
Yeah.
How would you approach like zoning development, and then balancing that with the neighbor concerns of keeping noise down?
Sure.
What's kind of your idea for an approach to that?
Yeah, well, this is a question near and dear to my heart. As we mentioned, I do building and development,
Right.
and we build workforce housing. So I've worked a lot with cities to bring workforce housing to their communities. And I think it starts off with, we should be the best place in Hennepin County to do business.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
The easiest to do business with. And I think we would say that to ourselves, but I've talked to some of the folks who were building the new football stadiums at our high schools, and we face some hurdles. I think number one, we've got to get rid of hurdles. We've got to get rid of challenges. I think that there's some great building typology things that the Planning Commission and Housing Redevelopment Authority and City Council have done.
Sure.
But I think we could eliminate parking, some of the parking requirements. We can do density where density is appropriate. But I had a voter just tell me the other day, said, yeah, you can't just put all the density off of American Boulevard
Right.
and say it's not in my backyard, it's up there, because there are some beautiful apartment complexes, that were built in my district, in District 1, that were built in the 60s, the 70s, maybe the 50s, the 80s, but then we didn't build a lot in between.
Sure.
And they're super nice and built back into neighborhoods, and I don't think those people are disruptive. So I say no to not in my backyard and yes to yes in my backyard, but let's be the city that's the easiest to do business with, that's the most helpful. Let's add more housing, because housing flows, right,
Yep.
to more tax revenue, to more pupils in our school districts. I think we're at a point right now where we've got to have Bloomington be attractive to the missing middle of housing that young families can afford, that puts seats in Kennedy and seats in Jefferson and seats in Valley View and seats in Indian Mountains Elementary in my neighborhood, or we're going to lose something really special.
Yeah, and a couple, anecdotes to your point there. If you go and look on Google Maps at Bloomington, you're going to find apartment complexes in places you didn't think there would be one.
You don't
because
know.
they are backed into neighborhoods in
are.
some places. Same with like townhomes.
Yeah.
And then
we've got
sorry,
a great
go ahead.
one. No, sorry. Right at the corner of Old Shakopee and Portland.
Yep.
Right? It's 55 plus community. I had just driven by it a million times, just like all of us have done. But now out canvassing, I go back in there and I'm like, I would live, this is the loveliest little community. My mom and stepdad live at Riser, which is over in far east Bloomington.
Yes.
By where the train comes through. Oh my gosh, a gorgeous community, very thoughtful, beautiful views, right by the light rail. Again, a 55 plus community. But again, when you think about missing middle, sometimes it's thinking about all the generations in Bloomington too, right? That we need places for people to go and have community at 55 plus or 65 plus, and then that opens up housing stock for young families. So I'm sorry, back to your point.
No, that's okay. The only other anecdote I was going to make is we can look to our neighbors directly to the north of us in Richfield for creative ways to put housing in any nook and cranny you possibly can.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you a great example of this. There's this talk about the Ferry Bridge Road, right? It doesn't need to be 2 lanes, 2 directions, can be 1 lane each way, maybe the turn lane in the middle. And when we got presented this on the Sustainability Commission, my first thought was, it could be more housing instead of a right-of-way. We need the tax base. We need more young families in this community.
Yes.
We have to stay vibrant for the next generation.
Absolutely.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So switching gears a little bit, on the topic of bringing in more residents and everything, obviously along with that comes the idea of public safety.
Yeah.
How do you think would be the best way for the police to interact with the current community and then the developing community?
Yeah. No, I did the tour of the police station. Now, talk about great social media. If you follow Bloomington Police Department and Fire Department, they do some great social media.
Yeah, they're great. Yeah.
I think City Hall could learn a thing from police and fire.
Sure.
But we do a great job. I've not heard many people I don't think I've heard one person out of 6,000 complain about the police department. I like that we have community-based policing, that we can tailor it to the needs that we have in a community, that maybe the police station at the Mall of America is a little different than the one that we have here.
Sure, yeah.
I love that we have our own 911 center, in this building that you and I are in here today.
Yep.
And I kind of like the Orange Jumpsuit District, and I think the chief is doing a great job. So I would say we continue to fund, we're finally at a really good staffing level for police.
Sure.
We've got a couple more than what we need, but it's looking ahead to some upcoming retirements. I think the one area I'll add in first responders that we forget about is I had a chance to sit down with Chief Seals.
Sure.
And we have not funded the fire department well. I think the goal that he has, which is a hybrid, but 75 full-time and 75 on-call, is a really good model. But let me tell you why, because this is a tough sell to people in Bloomington, right? We talked about how many of our neighbors are really wanting to age in place. They maybe don't want to go to community. I mean, my folks pay. It's outrageous if you go to assisted living I think the number is like 68% of the police department's calls are for falls. They're for helping somebody. It's actually EMT type of calls. So if we want to have aging in place in Bloomington, again, very important that we're being protected by the folks out there in the police department, but that we continue to invest in the fire department. And don't forget, at a certain point, if your on-call time goes too bad, because there was a point in time where we were running one person on a truck in Bloomington.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, which is not great.
Yeah, no.
That can affect insurance rates. So it's like a little bit of investment in our shared welfare can actually keep costs down in the long term.
Sure, absolutely. So you mentioned the idea of aging in place, which in a lot of ways, Bloomington is looked at as a community you can come to retire. So with that in mind, tell me a bit about how you kind of envision the balance between development, conservationalism, infrastructure renewal. What's the long-term vision there?
Yeah. Well, I think that my vision, and I'm a builder. I think of myself as a builder, but I think we have to continue to invest in great infrastructure. And, if there are opportunities for development, we need to take advantage of that.
Sure.
We've got to do it in a way that builds consensus. And again, I think that, we probably heard, everybody knows, we got the Community Health and Wellness Center coming up.
Yes.
Up by Newton Avenue. Newton Avenue is in the district that I'm running for. A lot of those folks didn't know about that project, or were told maybe we're going to buy your house, and then they didn't really worry about it.
Sure.
We could have just gone out there. It's not 12 houses on Morgan and Newton Avenue. And we could have just gone out there and talked to them and asked them and had them be part of the conversation. So I think the big worry is everything's great, but are we... It's felt leadership to me sometimes. It's one thing to say, yeah, we've got the online portal. I don't know about you in your neighborhood. I have neighbors that don't have a computer still.
Sure.
Speaking about our seniors, right?
Yeah.
They still have a landline phone.
Yeah.
So we have to think about the engagement techniques that we have with these folks to be able to age in place. But some of the, right, so...
Like updating the infrastructure,
yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
So again, huge believer in infrastructure. I think we can turbocharge development where it's appropriate in Bloomington. And again, we can be the city that's easiest of our brethren up in Hennepin County to do business with.
Sure.
But over-communicate on these things. We can't just have a website with a, I check, because that's not communicating to everybody.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people feel disenfranchised because when they see developments happen, they don't realize that the meeting for it was last year.
I hear this. I hear it so many times. It goes back to, you and I might be more plugged in.
Sure.
And I'm seeing it, and I'm going to the meeting, right? But a great example was that the living wage requirement that came up for that property up off of France, right? And great project. But I couldn't believe how many people in the audience were like, I just heard about this 3 days ago.
Yeah,
I just heard about it a week ago.
When it's been in like a dozen meetings.
It's been in a dozen meetings,
Yeah.
but most folks aren't paying time.
Yeah.
I mean, I promise you as a voter in Bloomington, I will pay attention to that. And perhaps we need to be communicating that as city councilors or future city councilors.
So you did mention climate resilience.
Yes.
Also sustainability having a huge importance.
Yes.
You're obviously very invested in that sector.
Yes.
Tell me what actions Bloomington needs to take in order to really kind of embrace sustainability.
Yeah. So a wise man once said, if you show me your budget, I'll tell you what your priorities are.
Okay.
It was FDR. In case you're wondering.
Sure.
Or no, and I think Joe Biden then said it again. But I get to the Sustainability Commission in Bloomington, and I'm like, this is great.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've been following along. It was like, we declared a climate crisis in 2022 at a city council meeting. In 2015, we created the Sustainability Commission. We said we're going to have 50% reduction by 2035 on our carbon footprint. And I'm like, wow, we must have a good budget for this. What are we doing? And like, we're pulling buckthorn and we're pulling garlic mustard. And don't get me wrong, I hate buckthorn.
Yeah.
I like to hike down the bluff trails, and buckthorn we want it eliminated.
Mm-hmm.
But what we're not doing real actions to fight climate change. Now, I ran sustainability for a $7 billion international company.
Okay.
We didn't have a lot of budget to do it either. We had to show a great ROI.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing I will tell you is that in the state of Minnesota, on any of our plants, any of our factories, any of our offices, solar made, and you saw this, Department of Public Works, right?
Mm-hmm.
Got the great solar array up there.
Yep, absolutely.
I mean, I think with some of the rebates we got, it's like a 6-year payback. And here's one interesting thing that we don't think about. We know we're all crunched on our household income right now.
Yep.
The cost of energy is growing at twice the cost of inflation, and inflation's no picnic right now.
Yeah, it's getting
It's bad.
Yep.
I mean, I can't believe some of the prices that you're seeing in the grocery store. Like, I've had to boycott several things. I'm like, I'm not paying $11.99. It used to be $7.99. I know
Sure.
too much, right?
Yeah.
So I think one of the plans, and at its face, it sounds crazy, but it's the Solarized Bloomington program that I put together.
Sure.
So let me give you an example. In my neighborhood, I put solar on. I will tell you, with net metering and the Excel rebates and the federal rebate, which will end coming up, it was a 0-day payback for me. 0 days.
Sure.
I drove here with free gas from my rooftop, solar.
Nice.
I have an electric vehicle.
Sure.
So my neighborhood now, we have 18 solar arrays in the neighborhood.
Okay.
Because you know what? It's people walking by. And it wasn't a partisan thing.
Yeah.
It was like, well, tell me about your solar array. I said, it's free. You need to put it on your house. So let's point to Oak Grove Elementary School. That's a great use case. The Solar for Schools program, I think somewhere around 80 to 90% of the cost of that is covered. Now,
Yes.
I see a future where we make a small investment and we lock in our utility rate, utility savings for the next 30 years of
Sure.
that solar array.
Yeah.
So as everyone else has these price increases, and by the way, AI is coming for our electricity as well.
It is. Yeah.
But I think it's a step further. My house I'm down to just the fireplace running off gas.
Okay, sure.
Everything else, my house, all electric. My house is actually net positive.
That's great. Yeah.
So I create more energy than I use in a year. I think that our Bloomington properties, our school district properties, should all have solar and be kind of shining examples of what can be done and the savings that can be delivered for families in Bloomington. I also think we've not looked at community solar gardens, but I think there are opportunities for our lower income folks to be part of a community solar garden, to get clean electricity,
Sure.
to lock in their costs, because we can't. I mean, I've talked to Excel Energy. I talked to them for my job quite a bit, and I said, wow, we went up, what was it last year? Remember, like 16%, 14, right in there?
I think it was about 14.
Yeah, 14 point something.
Yes. Yeah.
I said, is this the new reality? And they're like, Absolutely, it's the new reality.
The new reality will always go up.
The new reality will always go up. Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's that. I think it's, if indeed we have a climate emergency, and we said so from City Council in 2022, why are we not doing anything about it? That concerns me greatly.
Right.
Why do we not have budget behind it? That concerns me greatly. It's not the end-all be-all.
Right.
But I like this idea of the city buildings being resiliency centers. Also, right? Battery storage, the ability for, during a heat event, it has air conditioning in the building. Grid goes down. We've got air conditioning at Indian Mounds Elementary, and the neighbors can come and shelter there. Blizzard, maybe we're back to the blizzard of 91, right? We have a warming center for local neighbors that can't afford it, right? So I think you can think about it very thoughtfully. You can look at things that have great ROI and actually in a couple of years save money. And then near and dear to my heart is, you know, I've been in and around Bloomington for a long time.
Sure.
I think when I was young, we had the most beautiful elm canopy ever, right? Elm trees all over
Trimmed
Bloomington.
a little here and there, but
Yeah, all the elm trees died. Now we have the emerald ash borer, and those poor trees are going down.
Yeah.
But I think we've got to, we've got this kind of this heat island effect here in Bloomington. We need to get serious about planting more trees.
Yeah.
And it's great, we're paying a lot of money to study it and get a survey, and that's great. But sometimes I think, geez, if you spend $300,000 on a carbon reduction study, you probably could have bought $300,000 worth of solar and known exactly what your answer, right? So we tend to do some things where we're spending our money to make sure to get ready, We could just spend it on doing something.
So
it's a little common sense approach.
Yeah, so those are great points about sustainability. And moving forward on that, how do you think it best to reach out to the constituency to get them involved in local politics? For people that feel disenfranchised and, you want to pitch them that idea of, sustainability and the public solar spaces, how do you think we can get those people into the voting booth?
Yeah, I think we've got to do more outreach, right? To meet people where they're at. It can't just be from a website or a survey. People don't have time in their lives for one more survey.
Right.
We've got to get out and talk. We've got to over-communicate with folks. And I know, for the Sustainability Commission, I volunteer at a lot of great events around Bloomington. And we get to hear from people in the community. I think finance in Bloomington has done a great job of reaching out. We've got that new ranked choice finance or voter-based, you choose your most important things, choose your own adventure. But I just think we have to do more of that than we think. And a lot of it starts with being out in the community.
Sure. All right. Well, Aaron, it's been very great having you. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thank you so much.
As a final message, what is your message to voters?
Yeah. Well, I think that today it's time for a change in Bloomington. It's time for some fresh ideas, and time for what I learned in the military was you do servant leadership. You put yourself last, you put other people first, and I think that today it's time for certain servant leadership and neighbors helping neighbors and follow the golden rule. It's as simple as that.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.